Um, okay, well,
Ah, now we.
happy New Year. Um, yeah, we're off and running or something. Um, let's start with our opening ritual. First, we'll excuse me, clear the space and um, using sound as we do. And so, just let the sound fill you and flow through you, and both carrying away what's not needed and and attuning, so we can sort of attune together. I turned to the west. Hail to the spirits that come to us on the west wind. Come, you who bring learning and vision and the cauldron of plenty. Come and join with us here this evening. Bring your bounty. Come. Come. And I turn to the north. Hail to the spirits that come to us riding the north wind. You who bring the courage to face the struggles of life, of our lives. And we thank you and thank you for bringing the stone of destiny. Thank you. Come. And I turn to the east. Hail to the spirits that come to us on the east wind, bringing the rising sun and its opening eye that lets us see what has been hidden in the dark. Come, you who bring the sword of truth to separate falsehood from what is. Come and join with us. Come. And I turn to the south. Hail to the spirits that come to us on the south wind, bringing the warm sun of midday and summer. You who bring us the music by which we live, that is our life's blood. Join with us this evening. Come. And here in the center, I give thanks to the spirits of this place and all of our places, the spirits that join with us, that support us, the spirits of nature, of our ancestors that are here in this space. We thank you for your hospitality. We are here. Thank you. Father Sky, Mother Earth, ancestors, nature spirits, people of the Fae, all of us warmed by the great spirit fire. May you find this sweet. Hooray, hooray, hooray. We are here, in this place now. Clay and water from the earth, sun and wind from the heavens, a divine home for soul, abiding at the center of our being, in the center of the worlds, on the threshold to the horizonless other world. We are here, in this place now, and it is good. It's a pleasure to gather with you all again. I hope my voice holds out. I'm sure it will. There'll be no getting off early tonight. No. All right. Well, I want to start sort of on I guess on a personal note. Today's the 5th anniversary of a stroke I had in 2020. And so it intensified my personal sense that like we always live on a threshold, between life and death, between what was and what is, between what is and what might be. And in a sense, this version of me is only 5 years old. So don't expect me to behave like an adult. Okay. But I think I mentioned something, something to the effect of about these sacred places. We're looking for these sacred places and these power spots, and and since we ourselves, I think, are a threshold of time and space, really, then all places are magical. But then again, some are more magical than others, and we can feel it. And it's the kind of thing that science is sort of helpless in the face of, because it's the kind of thing that the only sense that perceives it is human feeling. As far as I know, there's no other measurement or tool to test it other than what comes through human beings. And so this is this makes like so much of paranormal functioning or otherworldly functioning, because it's uncontrollable and unpredictable. It's pretty much ignored, and it's probably a good thing. So consciousness has a lot to do with everything. So all that said, I mentioned that we're going to be doing two double journeys tonight, and I think we did something like this once before, one time, and everybody survived. So we'll do it again. So this thing about twixt and between that was in some of the pages. I don't have my references here. Some of the pages in Tom's book, and if you've been in any of the live workshops, we'd often go to places in between places, which could be on the curb between the grass and the road, as an example, or the edge of a shadow. It's a twixt and between place, or any kind of a boundary. There's a specialness there, and so we we generally sort of may go there or think about it. But what we want to do now is to really go there, shamanically speaking. I'm not asking you to get up and leave. We want to, I'm suggesting to two places. I'm suggesting a journey that takes you to two separate places. And but like going to one first, and then switching and then going to the other. And what we'll do is, as we usually do when we journey, start out, give you a little time to gather with your helpers, and then be off. And a few minutes going first. What I'm suggesting is between. We've all seen the reflection of moonlight on water, I assume, whether it's a river or a lake or even a glass of water is valid. Imagine, well, we're going to imagine, no, we're going to actually go there. In between that space, between the reflection and the water itself, and explore that a little bit. And then the other one is between. Now, if you have another preference, Anne has already warned me that she's going to go to a different place. She likes the sunlight, the reflection of the sunlight on water. And so I invite you to rebel just as much as Anne does. If you have a sort of a different, you want a different take, you could go, for example, here I'll give you some example. I mean, you could think of, you've looked sometimes down into water, and if it's clean, if it's clear enough, you can see the bottom. You can see the stones, down there, or seaweed, or whatever. You can go there between the water and the seaweed, or between the water and the stone. So you have options, and I invite you to take advantage of it. And then the other one I'm suggesting is the place between the wick of a candle and the flame. Nothing. We don't have a quest for this, other than to go see what that's like. Okay? Explore around a little bit on that borderline, on that threshold, and so to do that, I started to go into the instructions, and then I interrupted myself. The start as usual, gathering with your helpers, and then taking off to the moonlight and water or wherever, and I'll just keep drumming there for that, and then after a few minutes I'll pause and re-announce between the wick and the flame, and start drumming again for a few minutes. And then the usual callback. Any questions, or it's clear enough? Or confused? Yeah. All right. So let's. It's taking almost as long to explain it as to take the journey. All right, so first, between the reflection of the moonlight and the water reflecting it. Or your option. And now between the candle wick and its flame. Okay, I'd like to hear about your experiences, if you're up for that.
I can jump in.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt.
You know, I try to find this place between the two things, and I sort of find this place where it's like is vibrating, whereas is going one and then the other, and it's vibrating back and forth. I just kind of feel and almost hear a little hissing kind of noises as bouncing back and forth. Um, I didn't get anything beyond that, but
Yeah, yeah, thanks. I had it was kind of like that for me with the water and the
yeah.
and the light. It was like what's happening is like there's this receptivity or smoothness, but then there's this other stuff coming down,
Hmm.
and I mean, then my thoughts went into the well, light, a particle, or a wave, or both,
Or a cat.
or okay, and yeah, yeah, Heidi, did you?
Yeah, it was I earlier when you sent the agenda out, I replied to the email and sent you a photo that I took of the moon on the water. And because I had that photo in my head, I think that was kind of where my journey went, was
Mm-hmm.
the boundary waters, and I was on the shore and I jumped in the water. And you know how when you see the moon in the sky and it kind of goes in a line on the water, the reflection?
Uh-huh.
Well, I was bobbing up and down in the water, going black and white, like through the different waves between the dark and light in the water. So it wasn't what I expected. I expected it like to be calm water with the moon and somewhere in between that calm space, but I was jumping up and down between dark and light waves
Mm-hmm.
toward the moon. It was very strange. It was very bouncy. I just found it odd. I felt like a bobber going
Uh-huh.
between dark light as I bounced across the reflection. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very interesting. It was kind of
Cool.
fun, but it was just black and white. There was no it was really dark except the water reflection.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was interesting.
So over time, you were both black and white. Yeah. Up
Yeah, I
until
suppose, yeah. I didn't see myself. I just felt the bounce and saw the
Mhm.
colors of the black and white like this, kind of. Yeah, it
Oh,
was
I should
interesting.
say it's a good thing you didn't see yourself.
I
If
mean,
if you see
who,
yourself in journeys, it's same as doing a past life thing. If you see yourself, you're not there.
oh my.
You
Well,
want to be.
sometimes I
You
see a
need to be.
shadow of myself though. Sometimes I see a shadow.
Well, you
I
see a
don't
shot.
necessarily see like
Yeah.
me, but sometimes I can tell it's me there. I don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
explain it, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
it was
Your
interesting.
consciousness is there. So
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
Anybody else? Yeah. Yeah.
So the sunlight. So I was lying between the sun and the water, and the sunlight was like sparkles, it like coming down and hitting me, and they were warm, and it was drying my clothes, and then the water below was cool, and it was kind of choppy. It was like this,
Mm.
and then I went to the moonlight on the water. And that was more like mercury. It was kind of slippery and smooth and um, heavy. And the water beneath it was more like a wavy thing.
Mm.
And it was cold. It was colder than the other water. So I think I thought it was night. when the moonlight, well, of course it would be. Um, so and the temperature there was cooler,
Hmm.
and it was darker. And looking up was more like gray, and looking up to the sunlight, it was just blindingly white.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was interesting being in the middle. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Thanks.
I didn't get a sense of smell, but the temperature and the sight part were
Mm-hmm.
there. Yeah.
Thanks, Ann. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go. I thought I was gonna go to see like the moon and the reflection on the water, but I ended up kind of like being in a rainstorm and walking through the raindrops kind of thing. So it was very interesting because it was coming down. I wasn't getting wet. I was just walking through as the rain was coming down.
Oh, neat. Yet there are people that will, physically, one of the in-between places is uh, behind a waterfall because it's both, between the earth and the moving water, and obviously it has a different feel there. Yeah. Anybody else?
I will.
Yeah, Sandy.
Going in between the water and moonlight, it was very smooth. It was very easy getting into, and a lot of freedom, like skating or flying. Sparkly light, smooth water, and I could see what felt between. Really cool. Going to the flame. It says unstable. I don't know if I'm coming through. I just got a message on my screen. In the flame, I was reluctant for some reason, which surprised me because I thought this would be warm and cool and bright lights. And it's like, I don't want to go in there. And got in there and I felt really constrained. Like, this is a tiny place. There's only a little bit of space. There's only a little wick. There's only this little flame. I took it very literally, but I just felt all constrained. So I really liked the moonlight on the water.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, did other people find that one of them was just way easier somehow or more hospitable than the other one? I did. I mean, too. So.
I didn't talk about the candle and the flame. I actually thought that felt safe.
Huh.
The flame kind of undulated. It and the wick felt solid, and they both felt warm, but I felt very safe there. The color was pretty, the yellow and the orange
Mm-hmm.
and the red.
So you could sort of be the flame and or the wick. It's sort of like at that place, you could be both or either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heidi, were you going to add something?
Oh, I was just going to say something similar to Anne. There was just a part, I actually have a candle lit on my desk. So the part of the wick that is glowing at the top, it was almost like that's right where I was, like and as you were drumming, the flame seemed to move with the drum. So it was just neat. It was like the very, very center of the wick was where I felt like I was.
Hmm.
And it felt safe, like you said. I felt very, very warm and comfortable there. So I liked that actually better than it felt. The bouncing up and down with the moon, that felt a little crazy and uncertain, but this was really comforting. So, similar to what Anne said.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Anybody else? Yeah, well, I had similar that set me into some other ideas of things that might be relevant. I mentioned the thing of between the reflection and the water. because that's also the place between air and water, and it felt to me unstable too. And depending on whether I wanted to sort of move a little bit to the water, it was a little more stable, or to the light, it seemed to be way more active. So you have this receptive and active polarity there with that, and then going to the light, going to the between the wick and the flame, seemed way more natural and easy to me. And going in there, it was like the place of transformation. Where earth became flame, where earth became light and heat. There, and it was like standing. It sort of felt like the lower part of my body was this wick that was kind of grounded and stodgy, and on the other hand, it was like it was like a cartoon figure with this ragged hair, just like but it was fire, all there, and so the from those two experiences, somehow there's some significance, at least for me. I don't know if for anybody else, but about reflection and in its double meaning and transformation. There, so I don't know if that's worth anything to anybody else, but for me, that somehow feels weighty and important. And I would mention again that what we did, we went between air and water, earth and fire in this. And it's usually when you see things written, particularly in astrology, it's usually earth and water that are the compatible elements, and air and fire. And so we did not obey that. Yeah, I mean, you could go like between, unless you took my suggestion about going to the bottom of the water where the stones are, to that place. Then you're between water and earth. But so what we had was a way to experience the four elements there, and at least some of the boundary and the difference between them. The much more active air, even if we were focused on the sunlight or moonlight that came, it's more active and warm as opposed to the coolness of the water, and with the wick and the flame. Now, to me, the wick wasn't. Now, Anne had the wick felt warm, right? Is that right, Anne? Yeah. And now, to me, the wick was kind of neutral, but that flame was warm, and active. There, so we had all these polarities showing up. Not just polarities between the elements, between hot and cold, receptive and active. What else is there? I guess wet and dry, for that matter. There, so we've covered the universe already. So maybe we should just call it a night, but we're not. Kathy, you were going to something?
I felt a calmness too, and active. When I was reflecting on the sun and the water,
Mm-hmm.
because it was very busy on top, and I felt busy because of that reflection.
Mm-hmm.
But me, I had to go lay on the dock and look down at into the water. And it wasn't just the rocks I saw. I saw the minnows. And I had a feeling of nourishment down there. So
Hmm.
you had a normalness, and then you had calmness underneath that, but you also had nourishment
Hmm.
feeling.
Nice. Nice. Thanks. Well, I know. Let's. I guess it'd be a good time to take a break. So if we came back at 5 before the hour, that's about an 8-minute break according to my clock and calculations. And maybe in the meantime we can all send some good energy to Kathy Ringer, who's sort of ailing over there on the sofa. Okay. See you in a few minutes, folks. Okay. Um, all right. This. I'll tell you. I'm still back on that. My own train of thought there on reflection and transformation, and all of the meanings of the word reflection. You know that thing of watching the reflection of the light on the water, but also that of reflecting about something, and it's this sort of this concept that what does it mean to reflect on something? You know, is it like to become like a mirror, or like the water, um, and where you're taking the image in, but not being moved by it. Um, you know, where you're right there, you're both active and receptive at the same time with this. It's really sort of caught my attention, and then maybe that leads to transformation, or maybe that was just an accident of what I put in here. Yeah, Heidi, you wanted to.
Well, the one thing that I always think about with reflection is that when you're looking at your reflection, you're not, you're seeing your reflection, which is the opposite of what other people see when they look at you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the opposite. So is it a true representation because it's a flipped image? And I always find that interesting because when you flip photos around, you look completely different than when you see them when they're taken. Do you know what I mean? So when I
Yeah.
think of
Mm-hmm.
reflection, it's just like, what is it exactly that I'm looking at? Is it really me or just a representation of me? I just find the whole idea of reflection very fascinating because it's just not what it appears to be, in my opinion, sometimes at least.
Mm-hmm. Even in a mirror. Yeah. Yeah. You know, your phones have that function. The smartphones, of whether it's going to be the mirror image or the whatever they call it, the other one, as other people see, and it's distracting if you put that one on usually. Um, okay, so we can move along. Um, I guess you don't want to reflect on that too much. The So I want to go to two more places here, and as I mentioned in the what in something I sent you, two possible places, and the first one being like a childhood place, but you may not have had a childhood place like that where you felt safe or strong or at peace or whatever. So what about now? Where do you like to go? Um, to feel safe, or to feel at peace. Actually, somewhere away from the computer and phone. So you have options of of what's the proper place, because what we're really after is not so much that place, but the spirit that was there that gave you that sense of strength or peace, or safety. It's that spirit. We want to go there to visit and perhaps thank. And any thoughts about that part of the journey? Or questions? Okay. And then the other one. If the landscape, it could be the land on which you live. Kathy Grimes often is referring to the boundary waters, so it might be there, or the place where you live. What we're really after again is the spirit of that place. Now, that's kind of a vague and amorphous instruction. The spirit of the place where you live, because first of all, there are lots of spirits there, for one thing, but it could be just a plot of land that seems to have its own identity. There's something about this place, where we live here, right here, Carol and I live. When they give the temperature, on the news, they talk about the temperature. We can be as much as 15 degrees cooler than what they say. Now most of the time it's not that much cooler, maybe 5 or 10 degrees, but I mean it's always cooler here. So there's something about this place that's different. And when we drive, then get in the car and you will see the little temperature monitor on your dash. Drive away from here, it warms up. So there's something here that has this place, and I don't know where those boundaries are exactly. That makes it a little cooler here. And by the time they give frost warnings, for example, it's too late for us. Because we will have already been there. And so I keep track myself here. So that's an example. I mean, it could be if you live like between two highways, that's a piece of land that now has a boundary. And so it would likely have its own spirit. Choose what calls you, and it could be. I mean, it could be something as simple as a tree. If you can think of trees as simple, I don't know. That seems like a stupid thing to say. Something as seemingly small as a tree that's the spirit of a place, or a forest. Okay. Any questions about that, or have I talked it to death already? Okay. So we'll do as we did before. We'll start, and we'll take time to gather with your helpers to go with you, and first to the spirit of a place where you have felt safe, secure, at peace, or empowered. Yeah, and then at the pause, and again, then I'll give a verbal reminder of the I'm getting spacey here, of the spirit of a land, some spirit on the landscape. And so, like on the first one, just visit it and express your gratitude and ask if it has anything to tell you. That spirit. Because if it's a childhood place that you're going to, where you felt this safety or empowerment or security, it may have something to tell you now. And the same with the landscape, the spirit of the place where you are, or maybe would like to be. It may have something to tell you. But certainly there are things to be grateful for to these spirits. On the landscape, of course, they're breathing and giving you oxygen and supporting the food chain. So there's a lot to be grateful for with it. So express that gratitude. Introduce yourself, and ask if it has something to tell you. Okay? All right, here we go. Let's... First, to an early or late place of safety and peace and power. visit the spirit of a landscape feature in a place where you live, where you visit, or where you would like to be, maybe. Okay. What did you find? Or what found you, maybe I should say. Well, I'll start. My childhood place where I liked to go actually was, we had like a suburban house, and in the back were three, I don't know what they were, spruce trees maybe, blue spruce. There were two very large ones and then one in the middle, and there was a space between those three and a hedge that was there that backed onto an alleyway, just a grass alleyway. And I always liked to go back in that space. And in fact, then under the one of the trees there, and it was only one of them. I don't know why that was, but it was just like that one tree. I seemed like the one to go in there, and then and then I started thinking, oh yeah, well there was also the maple tree in the front yard that I would climb up in, and just perch there and stay there and watch people walk by below and just hang out there. And then I thought about, oh, well then there was this in the basement of the house was what had been, and apparently before I was born, the coal bin for the furnace, but it was made into a little like office. Well, that's a fancy name for what this was. It was just basically the boards that were there and a table and a chair, and we had a chemistry set that I'd mess with there. And then I thought, oh, well, then there's also the garage. What I realized was anywhere I could be alone was sort of the common denominator here, where I could get away from everybody and sort of experiment with things. But going back to that space in the tree, really, and then realizing though too that even back there, I felt like somebody was watching. And that spirit was, well, yeah, of course we were watching, and I don't know, it was just sort of a warm kind of a reunion to go back there and visit. And then it was kind of similar with then this area. It was kind of like a feeling of a dome over here that was air conditioned. It was cooled somewhat. But then there's our grove. We have a grove of trees down one end. That's sort of this natural little space in there. It's just, there's something magical and sort of sacred in there about that. And so this had like some other like sub spirits, the ritual space where I do the Wheel of the Year recordings there. And there's a juniper tree that's sort of dominates that area. So it's kind of all over the place with these things. So I think I spend most of the time at the Grove, just sort of hanging out, just being there, kind of like absorbing that. And then was the creek that runs right by it. So it's kind of all over the place. Which I should say, in the recent, I mean, just in the last month or two, they've put up a sign of the name of the creek. It used to just be listed as a little further up as drainage ditch number 29 or something like that. But there's some point where it became its own creek, and it's now Prairie Creek, I'm happy to say. So we've given birth to a new entity with a name. So I was kind of, I was sort of all over the place with that. But I'm sort of like in this happy, giddy state almost. Anybody else? Somebody else?
I can share. As I grew up in northern Minnesota, so basically right next to the headwaters. Lots of huge pine trees. My parents' property was all huge Norway pine. So I would escape and go across the road to this really tiny little lake that had only poplars and birches all the way around it. And that was kind of I ran away from home to there. It was my safe space. I'm sure they knew, but they never came to find me. So that was always good. And it was absolutely beautiful. It's just very silent, except for the sound of the trees and the wind and that kind of stuff. So it was absolutely gorgeous. And somebody had a little dock out, and I'd go sit out there and watch the baby fish go by and stuff. And lovely memory.
Sweet. Yeah, that's where the spirits nurture us. Yeah. Thanks, Dania. And Brenda.
Well, I'll tell you my story similar to Carl's, my childhood home, where I just went from place to place, and there were such happy memories. One of them mainly was a tree that we used to hang out and climb in. But I lived in an unusual place. I lived in Zululand, South Africa, and we called it the Valley of the Mambas, because we had a lot of poisonous snakes around. Us little kids used to run around barefoot, and we'd stomp our feet to make sure we didn't see any snakes, and none of us ever were injured or bit. But what I find interesting is when we started this session, when we asked for some new allies or power animals to come to us, the snake came to me. And so it kind of feels like it was full circle going back to that area where snake was a danger, but at the same time, I was being protected by my snake. So it's just an interesting memory for me, but yeah, it's pretty powerful.
Neat. Thanks, Brenda. Yeah.
My childhood was welcoming. I smelled a lot of familiar smells that just came back and were intense. And I had a spot in mind where we moved when I turned 9, and then I was there, and all of a sudden it's like, I gotta go back here to where I was before this. So it was like a little mini tour, and good sense and welcome. It was a lot of message of the place was I see you or I saw you. And I remember you too.
Sweet. Yeah, thanks, Sandy.
Well,
Kathleen.
as you were right, Carl, I had to go back to the boundary waters, to Lake One. Really, from 1980, that has been my most powerful sacred place for me. And like you, 5 years ago, my life changed when I had bypass surgery. And I found that since then, I have other sacred places because I knew that for a few years I couldn't drive up there. And I found a couple places down here, 3 miles from my house, that has almost, not quite, because I don't think anything could replace Lake One, but really does have that magic. And one of the things that I realize is how easy it is for me at any time of the day, any place where I am, to go to Lake One and be part of it. And tonight, one of the things I realize is how expanded I get when I begin to think about Lake One, and how all of a sudden I have new ideas, new belief, confidence that I can do anything I want to do. And one of my problems is I often think too small. And so thinking of Lake One before I start things has always been part of my preparation to do things. Even cleaning the house, even getting I have a project now that I am letting go of items. And every time now that I start a day, I come up with one project and I get myself in the energy of Lake One. And then I go do it.
Wonderful. What a great tool or great usage of that ability to shift consciousness.
Yeah.
And to let that spirit like open you up, and that's just beautiful.
And a couple years ago, I made a promise to myself that I would go to Turtle Lake or Peltier Lake every day of my life, or every day of the year, no matter how cold, no matter how snowy. And for 1 year, I did that.
Wow.
And that has really cemented in me, because I'm also 5 years old, my newness. And I really have a feeling that anything before surgery, I can pick and choose. And being around Lake One, and I believe being around Lake One helped my healing of my heart. And I believe that that's one of the things that keeps me going and helps me get up every day. In one way, every day, to visit water and visit trees, because I believe that's part of my purpose every single day, to do that.
That's a wonderful testament. Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Anybody else want to? Because that's a wonderful segue into my question of, okay, so how do we how do we bring what we've just done into our everyday life, as part of a spiritual practice? Well, Kathy's shown what she's already been doing and has done, and connecting in with the consciousness or the spirit of the Lakewan, and we've also, well, tonight communed with the elements, and hopefully had some experience of that safety or the warmth, either of that nice place or the candle flame. So what does all of this mean to you as an adult? With the exception of the 5-year-olds here, but for the rest of the adults among us, visiting these places. Any thoughts about that? Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
Well, it's almost like being in that spot, or searching for the spirit of a place, or the in-between places. It lets everything else fall away. There's a quiet space there, at least for me. And it's a little bit of a different space than journeying or meditation. It's almost like,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like a journey, only it's real. Do you know what I mean? No, well, no, I mean not real, but I mean it's physical in the realm that the journey. I'm sitting in my office. I'm not out in the woods right now.
Mm-hmm.
But when I journey, I go there. But when I don't know, like I tend to see these places actually a lot out in nature, and I feel like they're actually physically really there for us to use as a way to be quiet and still, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, that because that's so there you are. I mean, that's using this whole concept or these ideas, as could be daily. I mean, and you often take walks, so it's a daily practice, going there to those places and greeting the physical body of those spirits.
Well, and like when you mention, journey to the spirit of the place, it actually changes how you are. I mean, for me, it changes how I walk in the world, because now I see that spirit in all kinds of places.
Mm.
Um, and I'm sure it's probably similar for other folks too. It's like I notice things that I may not notice before, because I'm looking for the spirit of places I show up at.
Yeah.
Just said that. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Well, I know I really enjoyed that chapter in Tom Collins' book that we were the assignment for tonight. And also, and I don't have the book in front of me, but I remember underlining messages in there. And I think I remember that he suggested that when we're out in nature, present ourselves in a form that we want to be seen as. I think something like that. I don't remember exactly, but how we see the spirit world in different forms, and we can communicate with the spirit world in nature so that nature sees us also. Something like that. I'll have to go back and read the chapter, but I really enjoyed that chapter.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Brenda. Yeah. Maybe that's something we can all do, is help find that phrase, because I think it's important, because we're going into a space where these beings are there. And most of the time, or at least most people, will just sort of like walk through, like you're walking through a crowd and just ignoring everybody, or going into somebody's living room and eating their fruits and just ignoring everything. but into nature, being aware of you're presenting yourself to these beings, and it'd be polite to introduce yourself and what you're doing there. I mean, you can't do this all the time, of course, maybe, but see if it changes anything. Any other applications?
For some time, I have been visiting all these places that are really special to me every morning with my routine in the morning. And I really think that had something to do with how the energy didn't change for me when I went on my vacation this last summer.
Uh,
I usually in the past, even though I've been doing all this for years, in the past when I got there, I felt an energy shift, and this last year I didn't. I just felt like I'd always been there, or it just wasn't different. Um, and perhaps it's because I maybe am journeying there more. I'm more present when I visit there every morning. I don't know why, but anyway, I just go there, all these places that I really care about every morning. And so it brings them back to me
yeah,
and the feeling, and it's just part of what I do. And I really enjoy it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That attunement, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that helps painting.
Probably.
Yeah. All right. One more? Anybody? No. Okay. Well, just a couple of announcements. Just a reminder, if you're interested in the second semester of this, to be sure to register. If you've had enough, that's okay. Go, and we'll see you down the road somewhere. And another thing, if you see this thing has come up. If you see Facebook posts or other social media posts about an alignment on January 25th, it's a hoax. It's clickbait. One that was sent to me because somebody had a question about it. They were selling some program or something. There was about some other program. There's no alignment on the 25th. Any more than any other time. The planets are spread out all over the place. Actually, if you want to look to a closer alignment, March, toward the end of March, there's a much closer cluster of planets, but still they're outliers. So this thing about all 7 planets are in alignment, it's not true. So just thought I'd mention that. Just periodically, there's some astrological hoax that comes around that people use to gin up attention and something special that doesn't exist. There are other ways to feel special, I think, so we can do that. And just before we close, I'm thinking of next year. Again, I mentioned this before. And the shamanic astrology is a possibility. The shamanic astrology, it's possible if I can say it. We can do more of sort of the more general shamanic things, or maybe something new. I'm sort of reading up now about the Grail and the Grail quest, but we're going to get a taste of that in the second semester anyway, because that's part of Tom's book in there somewhere. So if you have thoughts about what you'd like to see more of or less of, let me know. It's good information in planning. I'm kind of, at the moment, I don't have an inspiration, or haven't been told where to go, at least not by the spirits. some people have, but so it's sort of an open field at the moment. Okay, let me close out officially, and then we can chat informally or call it a night. Well, let me start with the spirits of this place in the center of things, like the hill Vushnuk in the center of Ireland. Thank you for your hospitality and for pouring down the light and enlightenment and empowerment and the safety that we've enjoyed here tonight. And thank you for helping to bring that, for being a foundation for that for us. Thank you. And to the spirits of the West, I give you my thanks. And we all thank you for the learning, for the visions that we've had here, and to be able to drink from that bottomless cauldron, to be nourished here. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. Thank you. Thank you. And thanks too to the spirits of the North, you who come with the courage to pursue and to persist in our struggles. Thanks for being here and for helping the darkness bring us light. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And hail to the spirits that carry the sword of truth in the east with the rising sun. Thank you for bringing your prosperity and the vision of new things to be seen. But the time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. Thank you. Thank you. And to the spirits that ride the south wind, we thank you for being here and providing the warmth and the words to tell our stories, and the music by which we live, and the life's blood that comes from the spear. The time of parting has come. Go if you must, or stay if that be your will. We thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It is done.